I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody...
Welcome to BTS Hot Topic, your daily dose of what's hot, what's viral, and what's next. From K-pop to culture, we spot the trends so you don't miss a beat. Whenever the name Taehyung is mentioned, there is a certain weight that hangs in the air. It is not simply because he is a member of BTS, though that alone already commands attention. Instead, it is because of an undeniable aura that feels raw and unfiltered. People describe it as something you cannot quite put into words, yet you know it is there the moment you encounter it. It lingers like a whisper in the background, demanding to be noticed. For many, their first impression of Taehyung begins with his obvious beauty. He is strikingly handsome, with features that the camera loves, and a voice that resonates with an earthy baritone warmth. But what quickly becomes clear is that there is more beneath the surface. His presence carries something deeper, a quiet pull that feels instinctual, almost primal, as if he was born with it rather than taught. His charisma is not a polished performance or a mask created by training. It arrives naturally, like breath, like heartbeat, effortless, unstudied, and entirely his own. It is this very rawness that makes it so powerful, because it does not feel staged, nor does it demand validation. It simply exists, and it is impossible to look away once you recognize it. One of the most fascinating moments is when Taehyung does nothing at all. He can simply stand still, silent, yet the energy around him seems to shift. His eyes, even when relaxed, carry a depth that makes people pause. In those pauses, time feels slower, as though he has bent the space around him without even trying. The initial reaction from those who encounter this aura is almost always surprise. Many expect charm or friendliness, but what they feel instead is something much larger. It is as if his presence magnifies the environment, creating a sense that there is more happening beneath the surface than anyone can fully grasp. Fans often explain this as an awakening moment. It is the instant when they realize Taehyung is not just a performer or a celebrity, but someone with a magnetism that transcends the stage. It is not about perfection, but about the way he makes you feel something powerful and unexplainable without speaking a word. When he steps onto a stage, that same charisma intensifies into a force that can be felt across thousands of people. His eyes lock with the crowd, and every movement, whether deliberate or casual, carries an unshakable confidence. Sometimes it's a tilt of his head, sometimes just a breath before the next lyric, but it's always enough to spark an eruption of screams and gasps. What surprises people most is how his charisma has dual layers. One moment, he is sharp, mysterious, and distant, like an untouchable figure carved from shadow. The next moment, he softens into warmth and laughter, making him feel approachable and human. This constant contrast keeps audiences on edge, never quite knowing which side of him they will witness next. Fans have called him a human magnet. Even in group settings where every member shines, eyes inevitably drift back to him. There is something about the way he carries himself that makes it impossible to overlook him, no matter how crowded the stage may be. Interviews provide a glimpse into this unique quality. Taehyung does not always speak at length, but when he does, every word feels carefully chosen, almost as if he knows silence can be just as powerful as sound. And even when he is listening, the subtle shifts in his expression often capture more attention than what is being said by others. It becomes clear that his charisma cannot be categorized into one single style. At times, he is mysterious and intense, while at others, he radiates softness and calm. It is this unpredictability that creates an allure people cannot resist, as though they are witnessing multiple layers of his personality in real time. Journalists and fans alike often highlight his gaze. They describe his eyes as deep, unreadable, and filled with secrets. It is not a look that can be easily interpreted, but rather one that demands patience. as if his story can only be understood in fragments. The greatest surprise, however, is that this aura is not limited to the spotlight. Even when cameras are absent, staff and acquaintances recall how the entire atmosphere of a room changes when Taehyung enters. It is not manufactured for publicity, it is a part of who he is, deeply embedded in his nature. This truth proves that his appeal goes far beyond image-making. Unlike many who rely on calculated gestures, Taehyung's charisma feels untouched by artifice. It is something that simply exists within him, a presence that does not fade when the lights go out. Fans often compare his influence to light. Sometimes he shines brightly and demands attention, like the midday sun, while at other times he glows softly, like twilight, offering comfort and serenity. Yet in both forms, he alters the space around him, shaping the emotions of those who witness him. The initial reactions at concerts are telling. Audiences scream, cry, or freeze altogether, overwhelmed by the realization that what they had seen through screens could not prepare them for the real thing. His charisma live feels heavier, almost tangible, like electricity in the air. In an industry where many depend on perfected images, Taehyung stands out because his presence is raw. It does not feel rehearsed or polished into something artificial. Instead, it feels human, beautifully imperfect, yet completely captivating. This is why the sense of shock never fades. Whether it is a fan meeting him at an airport or a casual clip on social media, people describe the same unexplainable pull. He does not just appear. He disrupts the atmosphere with an energy that is impossible to ignore. Countless personal stories exist about the first time someone encountered him. One fan said that the air felt heavier when he walked past, as if the world itself had adjusted to accommodate his presence. Such testimonies, repeated across countries and cultures, prove that what he carries cannot be dismissed as exaggeration. These stories, told again and again, build a narrative that even outsiders cannot deny. They suggest that charisma, in its truest form, is not about showmanship. It is about authenticity, about allowing your presence to exist freely and unapologetically. Taehyung embodies this truth effortlessly. Cultural critics have even labeled him as an example of charisma beyond performance. This means his magnetism is not dependent on choreography or stage design. It radiates from his being, a natural force that can be felt even in the quietest, most ordinary moments. What makes it so surprising is that this reaction never diminishes. Even for longtime fans who have seen him countless times, there is always something new, some unexpected quality that reintroduces his aura all over again. Perhaps it is because he does not censor himself. He allows both softness and intensity to flow naturally, without calculation. Whether he is laughing with friends or staring into the distance, his essence remains unchanged. This lack of filtering is what makes his presence so magnetic. People can sense when something is genuine, and with Taehyung, there is no need for a mask. What they see is who he truly is, and that truth is more powerful than perfection. For many, the first reaction is just the beginning. The more they watch him, the deeper they sink into his world, unable to detach themselves from the way he constantly shifts between mystery and warmth. It becomes a journey of discovery rather than a single impression. In the end, Taehyung's charisma is not something that needs explanation. It is a mystery meant to be felt, not solved. Raw, unfiltered, and endlessly surprising, his allure remains a living testament to the kind of power that only a few people in the world are born to carry.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.